Hey guys, Coach Valador here. Wanted to put together a quick educational video to let you know what's going on this week. This week, our kids are traveling to the state championship down in Bakersfield, and over the past month, they've been on this road to state to qualify to get there. You got to be pretty special to get to the state championship tournament. But before I do that, let me kind of put things in perspective. Across the United States, we have about 10,000 schools and 25,000 wrestlers. And as each of those states have their postseason, you can see here a number that represents a number of state championships each state has. So a state like Washington, they divide their state into different groupings or divisions or classes based off of school size, strength of the program, where they are in the region. I'm not quite sure exactly how each state does it, but any combination of factors which ends up with numerous state champs per state. There are a few that have one state champ: New Jersey, Indiana, Hawaii, some others, but also California. So let's stick with California. Right now, again, some data online that I found. We have 22,000 wrestlers up and down the state, all supported by 904 schools. And obviously, that's a lot of geography, a lot of wrestlers to kind of manage and get to one tournament at the very end of the postseason. So what the CIF section has done is divide us into different sections. So as you look, starting on the coast, San Diego section at the bottom part of California. As you move up, you have the Los Angeles section, Central Coast section, kind of in the middle there, light blue. You have two smaller sections on that side. You have San Francisco and Oakland. And then up the North Coast side, we have the North Coast section, correctly named. We also have the northern section on the other side of the state. That's essentially the north. We have the Sac Joaquin section. That's where we are. And then, the next two sections are the tough ones. Central section really dominates with a lot of great wrestling in that Fresno area and Central section area. And also, finally, the Southern section really keeps it competitive with the amount of wrestlers and the talent and the coaching that they have down there. So the Central section and the Southern section are really big players when it comes to the wrestling scene in California. But that's our section. And all of those guys send qualifiers to the state championship. And this is kind of a preview of what we'll be looking at this week in the Mechanics Bank Arena in Bakersfield. Again, this will be happening on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. My data is only the boys, but I don't want to discount that our girls are wrestling in the same arena at the same time with us. So it's a great time to celebrate wrestling, both boys and girls, having everybody together that just respects the sport, our athletes, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, once you get to the state tournament, the boys, we've adopted a 40-man bracket, and you can kind of see here I've divided the bracket into how many qualifiers each section gives, and I'll kind of get into that in a second. So how did we get from 22,000 wrestlers to 40? Well, first off, 22,000 wrestlers is the entire number. Divide that into the weight classes. You end up probably with about 1,600 wrestlers per weight class. But with only 904 schools, only 904 varsity wrestlers can represent each weight class. So those wrestlers will go through a series of league tournaments. I believe there's 135 leagues. I looked online. 135 leagues in California that have wrestling. Out of that qualifying tournament, you're left with 577 divisional qualifiers. Those guys will wrestle in about 31 tournaments across the states in each section, or their divisions, based off of whatever. And then once you get past the divisionals, you'll have about 235 Masters qualifiers. Now, those qualifiers will wrestle a big tournament in each section. And I mentioned before, there's 10 sections. And at the end of the day, you end up with 40 state qualifiers. So to kind of get away from the numbers and kind of give you a visual, I figured I'd use Vacaville, use us as a kind of a journey, a visual journey. So coming out of league, we're in the Monticello Empire League, Vacaville. We're in there with schools like Rodriguez and Will C. Wood and Bandon, et cetera, et cetera. So we move up through the tournament, league tournament. And from our league tournament, the top four placers go to state. Team wise, we did win the MEL championships. But again, individuals, the top four guys qualify into our divisionals. So our four best guys from the league join four other leagues, and they enter a 16-man bracket. So then again, we run through this bracket. Vacaville takes first place again as a team. But in terms of qualifiers, the top 8 qualifiers from each division move on to the tough section tournament, which is also called Masters. So from here, we move into Masters, which is a 32-man bracket, and these are the best guys in our section. We have Division 1. Del Oro is a great team that comes out of that section. We're obviously Division 2. Pittman and Bella Vista are tough competitors in our own division. Oakdale is a dominant one in the Division 3, and also Division 4s and 5. There's a couple of qualifiers there as well. Anyways, coming out of our Sac Joaquin section, you wrestle that tough 32-man bracket, and our Bulldogs continue to climb. Again, we won another banner this year at that team championship. This year was a really tough one. It was really close. But individually, 6 qualifiers from our section move on to the state championship. Now, you can kind of see here how I divided I guess there's numbers to how many qualifiers each section sends. So I mentioned that Central and Southern section are really tough. They send a total of 19 qualifiers out of the 40, so that's almost half. But you can see San Diego section with 4, Central Coast or the Bay Area has 3, then some of the smaller sections like San Francisco, Oakland, and LA, they send 1 each. But that gives you kind of how we get to where we're at. So now we have 40 wrestlers. Let me fast forward through this. Skip my slides. Again, getting from 22,000 down to 40 state qualifiers per state is pretty special. So hopefully you guys can cheer us on. Hopefully this educates you for your kids as they come up through the program. But this educates you on kind of the road to state. And we always talk about it, but we never outline it for you guys. So anyways, wish us luck this week.